Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt. Welcome back to another XRP video with a ton of important announcements and important news in today's video. You guys got to stick around for. I'm not going to waste any of your time because we got to get right to this. So man, we take a look at the market today, see what's going on. And unfortunately, we are looking like we are in the middle, at least at this moment, of kind of a bear rally right now. The main reason being we are in sort of a bearish phase at the moment is because we were seeing a little bit of overbuying. This is something that I always talk about, but when we see a little too much activity, a little too much buying, a little too much optimism, eventually that is met with some level of fear. There are a handful of exceptions, of course, Zcash and still a few other ones managing to stay in the green, including BNB, which recently flipped XRP. I think is very interesting, and I do want to hear down below in the comments right now if you guys think it will continue to flip XRP or if you think XRP will come back at some point in the near future. But the main thing we have to take a look at and sort of deeply, truly understand is the direction the market is headed in right now. So XRP 288, which is exactly where I pretty much was estimating we would fall. And if you guys remember from a couple of days ago when we were talking about what are our goals, where do we think XRP realistically will be if it has to retrace at some point. And again, when we take a look at our data here, especially comparing it against the rest of the market, we see Ethereum on the week is still up, BNB is still up, XRP about neutral, slightly down on the week. But regardless, we are still in a pretty good period, a pretty good phase for crypto. I think any time that Ethereum is over 4,500 is a pretty good time for crypto. So it really is just XRP trying to come to terms with the fact that it was for a little bit potentially overbought. So that's something we're just going to have to sort of internalize and understand. But if we take a look at our stats on the day, of course, volume over the past 24 hours is down a lot. This is a sharp decline in volume. Not necessarily a bad thing, not always a bad thing, because remember, we don't always want a giant influx of sell volume. So there is definitely something to be said about just cooling off the volume just a little bit, just for a few days, just to kind of cool off and gather ourselves again. Market cap again right now at $172.6 billion. And if we take a look just at the overall sentiment, again, we're seeing some predictions that potentially XRP could head up to $6 one day in the future. And of course, kind of just in a consolidating pattern right now. A lot of people talking about where they see XRP going as well with the ETF in the future as well. That's something we're going to want to think about as well. And again, we really can sort of gather some of this insight when we take a look at the technicals here. So again, as you guys know, this is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. And of course, we don't know if technical analysis like this will always be the end-all be-all, because it's never the end-all be-all. There are a lot of times where a good piece of news, a good announcement will change things very, very quickly. So I think if we take a look at just the overall shape coming in from July, again, we see a period of massive overbuying here back in July. And of course, if we trace those highs and if we trace our lows, you guys can see this is somewhat of a descending kind of flag here. You guys can see this almost is like a bearish formation, but again, that isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all. So if you take a look, again, you guys can see this is somewhat of a bearish pattern because we're seeing lower highs and our lows are also dropping slightly, but there is potential to fix this. Now, the main way I see this being fixed, at least personally, if we are to take a look at our fib numbers here as well, there are a few key zones I think we have to maintain, and as long as we maintain them, what on the surface here is looking to be just like a bearish zone or whatever might actually just be more of a consolidation range. Because if we are to remove these drawings, if we remove these drawings right here, we remove the top flag and remove the bottom part of the flag here, if we are to just zoom in a little bit, say we come to August, okay, and we draw from here, and say we just maintain and bounce around these fib zones for a while, you guys can see that looks a little better. And again, it looks like we're just consolidating, reaccumulating somewhere in a broader range, and that's fine. If we had something like this, this would be widely accepted as an asset that is ready for breakout. So the thing we have to think about again is, can we make this real? Can we make this happen? Well, I think there are a couple ways in which we could. So you guys will see our fib zones right here. And the main thing that we're looking at here is the 1.618 spot over here, which is at $2.82. Now, again, you guys know that 270, 280 range is really, really crucial. And if we take a look at our previous lows, it looks like those lows being 2.74, 2.75. We definitely don't want to head below there, but mainly so that we don't have that downward momentum. If we could just stay at 2.82 or above, that would be an absolute blessing for XRP. And again, you guys can see we're free to hop around this range here. We can hop around this range for a very long time and be totally fine. There is no rush. There is no emergency. We want to make sure that we're taking our time and that we are not dramatically overbuying or overselling, because when we look at the relative strength index, which is always telling us whether or not we are buying or selling too much, you guys can see that when XRP performs very, very well, especially like back in July here, this is a massive amount of overbuying. This is massive. And the reason why this is such a problem is because investors look at this and go, wait a minute, people are getting way too greedy. This is alarming. And then they sell, and then the whole thing tanks, right? And again, that's just a part of it. That's something we're going to have to experience. But as long as we can just maintain above that $2.82 zone, I think we should be completely fine. Now, we've had a couple of very good announcements that I need to share with you guys, including one of the biggest ones about XRP becoming a bank. So this is from John Squire here talking about Ripple, saying their national trust bank filing with the US OCC hits its 120-day review deadline on October 28th, 2025. So that's going to be in about 20 days from now. And that internal filing letter started the countdown, and now the clock runs out. So this would be fascinating if we actually saw Ripple become a bank. This would be absolutely huge for XRP, of course. And again, a lot of people are debating on whether or not that's intrinsically a good thing for XRP or whatever else. But honestly, I think more institutional adoption is something we're going to need if we are to see XRP and other major cryptos really reach crazy numbers, reach crazy evaluations. So what could XRP realistically be? What kind of evaluation could we see from this? Well, I mean, if XRP and Ripple become a bank, okay, that's a pretty big friggin' deal. We could see this market cap double easily. This could go to $6 easily, and it wouldn't even be a fraction of what Ethereum is. So that's what people don't understand when they talk about Bitcoin, and people are like, oh, well, Bitcoin's the safest investment, isn't it? And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but Bitcoin can only go up so much. There's only so much money in the world, okay? So when we look at a market cap here for Bitcoin of $2.5 trillion, yeah, that's a lot, but I mean, how much more can that go up? It could double one day. I mean, it could 3x one day, but are we ever going to see $1 million Bitcoin or $3 million Bitcoin? It's a little tougher. You would be able to see, however, you could see $20 XRP, you could see $25 XRP. That would come a lot more common. That would be a lot easier to achieve. Even Ethereum, you could see $20,000 Ethereum way faster than you'll see $500,000 Bitcoin, period, just because of the market caps. So the way I explain this and the way that this can be sort of justified is market cap is just the total market value of a cryptocurrency's circulating supply. So with the amount of crypto that is in circulation, with the amount of money that is currently invested in it, that is how much money is invested in it total. Bitcoin at $2.4 trillion, there's only so much money in the world, okay? So when we take a look at XRP, we only have a market cap of 172 billion. I say only, that is still pretty massive, but there is a lot more money that could be thrown into XRP in the future, because there is a sufficient amount of money in the world, if that makes sense. So that's just a concept that people have to understand, because when people talk about XRP, oh, can XRP go to $1,000? No. Sorry, no. But XRP could very easily 5x, 10x. That's something it could do. And that's what's so inspiring about this is it's not a fairy tale. It's not a fantasy. It's something real. And that's something that people really need to pay attention to. Another awesome announcement that I wanted to share with you guys is Ripple won. So at last week's Pay 360 Awards, Ripple was victorious in the Best Initiative with Digital Currencies or Assets category, which is super cool. This award underscores the real-world utility of digital asset-enabled cross-border payments, and this is a huge endorsement of the work we are doing to advance technology in the UK, Europe, and around the world. Thanks to our clients, partners, and industry peers, including the sponsor, all of whom helped us get to where we are today. So very cool that Ripple actually won this award. And again, this is just a string of incredibly cool, good announcements that are going on right now for XRP. I mean, the amount of announcements that are going out is just absolutely bonkers. And I think this is probably around the cheapest XRP will be for the foreseeable future. You know, even if we head down to 2.7 or 2.75, I don't see it getting much lower than that. And that's something I think is just very, very important for people to fully internalize. So with that being said, I truly do hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know, of course, down below in the comments what questions you guys have. You can join my Discord, which is free, down below, and I'll catch you guys later.